A quick check on the weather now. Tropical hurricane Francine has made landfall in southern Louisiana in the United States, causing power cuts to millions of homes. The Category 2 storm hit the state on Wednesday, bringing storm force winds and heavy rain. It also triggered flash flooding. Authorities have issued tropical storm warnings and tornado watches across several states as forecasts predicted significant rains and potential flash flooding.
It's just been a lot of winds and rain. We just lost power about maybe 10 minutes ago. Other than that, we're okay. Got a little high waters. Hopefully, we get a power too long. I notified people. They didn't give us no update, but we're going to be okay. We got candles and flashlights. Hopefully, we'll be okay in here.
The situation in Thailand is what we're looking at. Flooding has marooned thousands, and authorities are still trying to reach areas using boats and helicopters. This is the province of Chiang Rai. The waters are said to have started receding, but many settlements are still flooded. As you can see, at least 33 people have died across Thailand since mid-August from a spate of rain-related incidents, including landslides, with 9 fatalities this week in 2 northern provinces hit by adverse weather brought by Typhoon Yagi, according to the government. And here in Nigeria, thousands of families trapped in flooded areas of Maiduguri are being evacuated to safer locations by the military, volunteers and security agencies. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Bayojo, has been there to visit. He toured the customs area and other severely affected regions. The state governor, however, has been involved in helping people settle into IDP camps, giving donations to help with their plight. Over 1 million people have been affected by the flood.
Governor Babagana Zulum is at the Bakassi camp along the Bio-Damboa Road to distribute relief materials to the victims of the flood devastation which affected the state capital, Maiduguri. Armed with the 3 billion naira flood intervention from the federal government, the governor donates cash, food items and other necessities to the victims. He also gives an update on the situation.
So far so good. We have mobilized cooks and they have started cooking food in this camp. So these are immediate palliative measures that will cushion their immediate effect. So this morning what we are here is to distribute the sum of 10,000 naira to each and every heads of household that are affected by floods. And I also want to inform you that a few days ago, luckily enough, we received 3 billion naira from the federal government as flood intervention fund. So we are using this fund to support the communities that are affected by the flood.
The governor explains the cause of the flood and the plans of the state to reconstruct the dam and contain the water.
The water that we received this year exceeds the carrying capacity of the dam. We have a very heavy storm. It might be associated with climate change. That's the most important thing. So what we need to do is to now reinforce the dam, reconstruct the dam, expand the capacity of the dam, and most importantly, defilt the drains. Because most of the waterways were occupied by human beings. If you can remember a few years ago, when I was sworn in as the governor of Borno State, I followed all this route, and I asked people to bucket on the waterways. But unfortunately, people don't heed to our own advice.
Families affected by the flood are being evacuated to safer grounds by the military and other security agencies.
Don't come back with this, your motor here. Back properly now.
The flood is already receding in some parts of Maiduguri, while some places like the Medium Security Correctional Center is still flooded. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, accompanied by heads of paramilitary agencies, inspects the facility to assess the situation. Later, he pays a courtesy visit to Governor Zulum, where he gives update on the impact of the flood.
It's a sad moment, and we empathize with the people of Borno. And of course, the government is very much concerned. And in terms of our facilities, the correctional center, actions are presently ongoing. There are certain things I won't be able to disclose for at now because of security reasons, but you can be sure that we're on top of situations, 100%. The immigration passport office was affected, but the people of Borno can be rest assured that once we get back to Abuja, we will try as soon as possible with immediate effect to create another center, where they can start their normal activities. And of course, the fire service was also affected, but all this are just, to me, they are minor issues compared to the generality of the impact of the flood, on the people of Borno.
The state government plans to set up a committee to look into the possible outbreak of the disease. Nevertheless, search and rescue operation continue in parts of the state capital.
Really concerning videos from Borno State. In a much related development, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, says about 9 camps have been opened in Maiduguri to accommodate those displaced from their homes in the city. The Director of Planning and Forecasting at NEMA, Mr. Onimode Bandele, said doctors have also been mobilized to ensure that evacuees are not at risk of contracting waterborne diseases. He also says rescue helicopters belonging to NEMA are currently undergoing maintenance with the Nigeria Police Office. Mr. Bandele said this on our breakfast program, The Morning Brief.
At the onset of the incident, we had 4 camps, but as of yesterday, these camps have increased to 9 to accommodate the evacuated population. And NEMA, in conjunction with the Nigerian Air Force, have mobilized doctors to take care of these people, not leaving out the State Ministry of Health. NEMA has mobilized resources, food, non-food items, and medicaments, and this should be getting to Maiduguri by today for the use of those people. Because we are aware that drinking water is going to be a problem, NEMA has mobilized its own asset. We have water purification plants that have been mobilized to Maiduguri. These plants can provide drinking water within 5 minutes. No matter the source of water, it has the capacity to process water that is safe and healthy for drinking. The search and rescue helicopter that we have in the country is with the Nigerian Air Force, and we are in close discussion with the Nigerian Air Force, and I'm sure in the next few hours to come, we'll update you with our tactical response in using area assistance.
I want to bring in now climate change expert Dr. John Osonwa to talk some more about this. Dr. Osonwa, thank you for joining us on the program. And I'm sure you've seen the incredible pictures, from Borno State. I have had people asking me, where is this? Because I had, some of these videos and pictures up on my WhatsApp status, and people could not believe that they were actually looking at a part of Nigeria that's been submerged in floods.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. What we are seeing is truly remarkable. The scale of the devastation is mind-boggling, and it appears that the damage will be extensive in so many areas. The thing we need to understand here is that flood is now the most common and most recurring natural disaster in Nigeria. So we need to have a paradigm shift from the way we have been approaching the problem. We have had a number of floods since 2012, very large-scale flooding all over the country. In this particular instance, we're looking at the dam in Borno State. And Borno is not peculiar in this regard. We have over 300 dams in Nigeria today. And a lot of those dams need serious maintenance, particularly when you look at the fact that many of them are not being desilted. Over time, when you have a dam, and this particular one, as I said, was built in 1984, 1986, is about 40 years old now. So this dam has lived and served a very long time. And you need to be doing regular desilting. Over time, you have sediment accumulation in any dam, this one inclusive. And if you allow that sediment to be there, it diminishes the holding capacity of the dam. And when you build these dams, you have to be mindful of the source of the water and the quantum of water that can come into the dam. So when you now have huge accumulation of sediment that is not desilted periodically, you're going to have either the dam breaks, or a column would give way, as happened in this case, or you have the water breaching the wall of the dam and causing havoc downstream. That's what we had in this particular instance. So we need to move away from the typical emergency disaster response palliatives to a mindset of prevention and mitigation.
The governor did speak a bit about this, when he visited the Bakassi camp in Maiduguri yesterday. He did say that he had already foreseen that something like this was going to happen since last year. He had warned people to evacuate. But then I wonder, when you're asking people to evacuate for something they really haven't seen, in anticipation of something they really haven't seen, it's hard to convince them. But did he do enough to convince people to get out of the way that this was, going to happen, something like this was going to happen? And did he possibly also foresee the magnitude of the disaster that's taking place in his state?
It's possible that they didn't foresee the magnitude because the last incident of this scale that happened in Borno State with this particular dam was in 1994. That was about 30 years ago. So this governor clearly was not in the picture at that point. So I think people underestimated the scale of this devastation that they are seeing. I've read some reports that people living within the dam environment were raising the alarm that the water level was rising rapidly and that they were afraid that there would be a breach. However, they were not evacuated. And let me also say something about evacuation of citizens. It is not the ambit of the citizens to decide when they should evacuate. Government has a role. Government has an overriding role in protecting lives and property and the welfare of its citizens. So when you have a dire situation that is going to cause severe harm, loss of lives, as we've seen, over 30 people have died, millions of people displaced and affected, disruption of business activity, massive threat of the onslaught of diseases, government has an overriding interest in protecting lives and property, and government should evacuate people. Having said that, though, a lot of times people do not move. People do not evacuate because they don't have the means to do so. They don't have another place where they can go without harassment. So that is why proactive engagement is very, very critical. We know we're going to be having floods in Nigeria now because of climate issues, climate change issues. I'll get into those in a while. But to the extent that we're seeing what is happening all over the country, no state governor can feign ignorance that flooding is a major menace in Nigeria now during the rainy season. So we need to be proactive. I think people should have been evacuated. Some of these things we're seeing now should have been done before. But let me also say that Historically, Governor Zolom is somebody who is very active, very proactive, one of the finest governors Nigeria has ever had, in my opinion, if you look at what he's doing in that state and given the challenges he's facing. But on this particular issue, I think more should have been done.
Yeah, and you know, he was trying to give out donations for supplies. NEMA said it's making food available. They're also working on safe drinking water. I know that that will be a major challenge for those in the refugee camps, because you cannot there will never be enough water for drinking water, that is, for people in the camps. And you can never provide enough food for everyone. I mean, the numbers are enormous. And then, you know, other forms of supply, because there are people who are in really dire conditions. I've heard stories about women giving birth while this disaster was ongoing. There are those who gave birth in the water itself, and then, you know, people who have health challenges and so on. The challenges before the government are enormous. So in place of providing these palliatives, this food, this safe drinking water, and probably medicine in the end, what else can they do? What other stopgap measures can they employ, you know, while making sure that everyone's needs are met?
Well, what we need to do, we need to continue the evacuation of people. It's going to take weeks for the water to dry up. But beyond the water drying up, you need to look at the health implication of what has happened. A lot of places have been inundated, soaked with dirty, contaminated water. In the next few days, you're going to have mold buildup. You're going to have mildew. You're going to have proliferation of waterborne diseases, cholera, dysentery, typhoid. Mosquitoes will have a fantastic incubation environment now to thrive. That's going to lead to malaria. So you need to really make sure that before people who have been evacuated are returned to their homes, that these issues are addressed. Of course, you also have the issue of the integrity of some of the structures. Just as we saw with the dam, when water soaks into concrete or blockwork, over time it degrades the integrity of the structure. So some of those houses that were not strong to begin with may have the threat of collapse now. So moving people out, very important, but also moving them in. We need to be mindful of what we are doing.
Yes, and while you were talking, my producer put up a video of the zoo in Borno State. I believe that's in Maiduguri, and we did hear reports that, you know, some of the animals have either died or a lot of them are roaming free, probably freely in the waters, and you see children swimming in the waters. How dangerous is that to even be swimming in floodwaters, whether or not you have dangerous animals lurking in the floods?
That is a very dangerous situation. Yeah, I read the report too. 80% of the animals died because of the flooding. A lot of the remainder escaped, including crocodiles, snakes. I've seen an ostrich walking freely in the street. That can also be a danger. That can pluck your eye out in an instant. So, of course, children, they love water. Whether it's raining or contaminated water, children often don't distinguish between the two. So you may have people, children who want to take a swim, a dip in the water. Perhaps they've never been near a swimming pool in their whole life. But that is very, very dangerous. As I said, the water is severely contaminated, because when you have this massive flooding that we're seeing, you're going to have fecal matter washed in there. You're going to have contaminants, fuel, diesel, all kinds of things. Even the cemetery was flooded and some corpses exposed. So we have massive this is water that is very, very contaminated. So people should be very careful of even stepping into the water, talk less of splashing in and getting soaked. So that's something that needs to be watched. It's going to take weeks for all the water to dry up, because once again we're looking at desert territory here. Borno is one of the frontline states. desertification has eaten deep into all those states. The ground is very aridified. The ground in most places is solid, almost as strong as concrete because of desertification. So the absorption of water is not going to be as rapid as you would find in a place like Imo State in the south. Of course, also issue of vegetation. We don't have a whole lot of vegetation to absorb the water because of deforestation and climate change. So those are real concerns that I have. But beyond all of that, as Professor Zulum said, they need to go back to the drawing board. The dam needs to be rebuilt or refurbished or reinforced. 40 years old, clearly it has failed the integrity test. And there's no guarantee this will not happen again very soon.
Just before we go off on a break now, Doctor, there are also other states apart from Borno. There are some other northern states that NEMA predicts will have, very serious rainfall. And then they also mentioned some states in the south and southeast. Abia State is one, as well as I think Cross River State. And I'm just wondering, what lessons they can learn from what's going on in Borno.
The lesson is the broader lesson of climate change. See, the reason we're having this proliferation of flooding, I saw your report too. I'm familiar with what is happening in the U.S., hurricanes, massive storms. It's because of climate change, and we need to be mindful of that. See, when you look at what is happening, global warming, we're putting out so much greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. It's heating up the planet. Every year we're breaking the record in terms of the heat index. Now, the Arctic Circle is melting. That's where we've had ice for eons of years. Ice, very massive, same size as Africa, 30 million square kilometers of ice is melting at a rapid pace. And that water is feeding into all our strategic oceans, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, even the Barents Sea. All those things come down to us, and you find that the rivers now have more water. The seas, the oceans have more water. So it doesn't take much rain to have flooding now. That's why we're seeing this massive flooding all over the place. Then you also have, because of global warming, the rate of evaporation of water is higher now. And when you have more moisture in the atmosphere, it comes back down. So people need to be mindful. We're going to have more flooding. Unfortunately, that is the reality because of climate change.
Dr. John Osonwa, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for explaining to us the dangers of the climate change that we're going through, as well as what people in Borno State can learn from what's happening, the rest of the world as well. I appreciate you joining us on The World Today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.